Hello, and we're back again for what's now part five of Pure Observation. And to be honest with you, I don't know how many parts this is going to run to. I really don't, because I'm just going with the flow and recording these videos as they come to me, really. And amazingly, I'm not giving away the whole book. I'm not telling you every little detail of the book. It's still there to be read. In addition to all of this, so I'm not spoiling anything. If you're still interested in reading, please do, because that's what it's there for. And as I've said before, I am thinking and planning to make a part two in due course. Yeah. So just for now, let's just go back a little bit, to the DeFeo family that we were talking about towards the end of the last video, as in the kind of gaps between them and the Lutz family and the two different stories, the two different scenarios there that does seem to get sort of bridged together. It kind of gets overlapped and all lumped into one sometimes, in the way that people are saying, well, yeah, it was the evil that forced Ronald DeFeo, to kill his family was the same evil that plagued the Lutz family. And, that works two ways, because some people avidly believe that, and other people will say, you all believe that and you're idiots and you're stupid for believing that, when, we do need to separate the two. Like I say, most of us aren't believing that it was a possession of any kind. We're believing that it was the act of a human being that would then have led to, a very negative energy. To quote the term psychic storm being created in that home, that there is something that really isn't beyond the realms of possibility when thought about and compared to many other paranormal stories. I've even come across those who blame the Lutz family for talks of Ronald Butch DeFeo being possessed, as though they're the ones going around saying, yeah, he was possessed by the evil in the house that was plaguing us. Personally, I find that quite ludicrous, because he was, trying to defend himself with those kind of claims before they took ownership of the house. So, we've got a lot of things here that, do get twisted, and, everything gets muddled up, a lot gets muddled up, as I've mentioned, it just does. And we're left with, a lot of things to unmuddle and unravel and look at in many different ways. And that's kind of what I'm aiming to do here all along, is to try and put things across more clearly and more fairly, so that people can make more objective and fair conclusions, even judgments, if you like, because, we're all entitled to believe what we like, but sometimes we have to look at things in different ways. We don't want to just be going over the same stories in the same way over and over again and saying, well, yeah, that still looks like that to me. Yeah, well, of course it does, because we're not going off in any different directions to look at anything in any different ways. So that's kind of where I like to differentiate myself from others who, like to talk about this story and will do their videos and everything, because it's all great, of course it is, but there are times where I think, well, hang on a minute, we've heard all of this before. Yeah. So with the greatest respect to people, I like to do things differently, and that's what this is all about now. Yeah. And so with the murders, and most people would know this, but it's amazing how many people wouldn't really understand this or get this either. That the second movie in the series, Amityville 2, The Possession, we can't really take that as a story of the DeFeo family. We just can't, because for a start, the name's different. There's 4 children, not 5. It was actually set in the early 80s when the movie was made, not set in 1974. And we got a young man who, was quite level-headed. He was a nice young guy before it all happened. And, there's no mention of, bad crowds and drugs and anything like that. Maybe the only real similarity to the family is the patriarch, played by Burt Young, who is, this very hot-headed, kind of even violent, kind of character who rules his family with a firm hand. But otherwise, we're talking something that was a work of Hollywood. To me, that is the scariest film of all time. It still is, 40 years later. I still find that film terrifying more than The Exorcist, more than any other. I just do. But we can't take it as, a story. People will say, but it's the prequel to the first film. Well, yeah, maybe it kind of is. Maybe they were trying to loosely tell something about the murders and, really make it into something terrifying, really ham it up. But, it in many ways we could say it wasn't a prequel. We could say that it was a completely fictional story of a fictional family who moved into the house later and ended up meeting a similar fate or an almost identical fate to the DeFeo family. Kind of say, well, here's a fictional story suggesting that history repeated itself. There are many ways we can look at that, but as we say, we can't take that as something that, tells a true story. We just can't, so, but I mean, of course, that does go with all of them. Now, I mean, another kind of thing, like I say, I like to look at things realistically, but fairly. And sometimes, people are still telling these stories, as though they're telling us, everything in detail, everything is true, what they're saying to us. But they're failing to differentiate parts of the story, mainly the Lutz story I'm going to talk about here, things that were debunked, things that were proved to be embellishments in the book that the family never actually claimed happened. The front door coming off its hinges, blown out from the inside, that was said to have never really happened. I mean, it was proved to have never happened because there was no damage found to the door. It, at the worst case scenario, so I believe, was some kind of a film, one of those flimsy screen doors may have blown off its hinges, or that there was some kind of, maybe minor damage done around the door frame, but it's this huge heavy door didn't come off its hinges. Yeah, that was proved. The window upstairs was said to have been damaged, yeah, but when people have tried to debunk that, though, unfortunately, it does seem that they've been showing us the wrong window. Yeah, so although the book says, yeah, one of those iconic eye-like windows was broken, it was more said to be true that it was an upstairs window in another room that got broken. Not one of those famous. We know the ones, yeah. We know the ones, yeah. And yeah, the red room, yeah. This is something that was really a cubbyhole. It was just a little red cubbyhole, painted red. Yeah, okay, it would have been a bit startling, a bit shocking to find that, kind of behind that bookshelf or whatever it is that was moved. And there it was. They weren't expecting it to be there. They didn't know it was there. And apparently the dog wouldn't go near it, so that's something that's a bit odd in itself, but otherwise, all of this gateway to hell and the dry well underneath it that's allegedly led to hell, that was all embellishments, that started in the book and got even more bizarre and even more sort of over the top by the time we got the 1979 movie. So yeah, we're talking things here that really got added on, and we do have to look at them realistically and say, well, yeah, that didn't happen. But then the family themselves didn't claim they happened. Other people added it on to ham up the story and make it more exciting and more scary. Which, of course, as we say, that always happens with true stories, any kind of true story. But that doesn't mean that what's at the heart of it, what the people would have said in the first place, was all complete lies. Because we never completely know that, do we? We just don't. Yeah. So it's all part of a journey. It's all part of a discovery that we can say, well, we'll probably never have all the answers, but we can aim to be closer to the answers. And like we say, even taking out the embellishments and the parts that have been debunked as added in for entertainment purposes, so far, as far as I'm concerned, we're still left with a plausible and scary story. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know how many parts there are going to be to this. Could be quite a lot. As long as I'm getting the hits and the likes and the support, I'm going to carry on doing it. So yeah, I'll be back very, very soon with the next installment. Thank you. Many blessings.